GraniteGrok. We want to thank you, Jennifer, for giving us a couple of moments of your time. We know that you're
We're really happy that you're here with us. Great.
Well, thank you. We know that you're in a rush, so I just wanted to take a moment of your time. I promise not to keep you long. You mentioned at the very end, of course, like all candidates, you have to ask for the money.
Right.
You are certainly going to be, right now you're in a three-way primary race with Bob Biden, who is also very conservative. You yourself are conservative, but you're also, the three of you,
Thanks for coming out.
the two of you are fighting against what I consider a progressive Republican. Now, that means a whale of a difference. He's got a lot of recognition, he's got a lot of money. But what are your plans on as far as fighting the progressiveness of this Republican?
We need to send a representative to Washington who's going to be a strong fiscal conservative who's going to fight for the people before the party, before the special interests, and we need to elect somebody in this primary who can win the general election.
Okay, now
that's what it's all about.
I know you've spoken at the Tea Parties. You've been very supportive over the years. Now we've got Charlie Bass who's coming out and saying, I love the Tea Parties. Their agenda is mine.
God bless them. I mean, yeah, I heard him.
I'm sorry. As a Tea Party person myself, it's a bunch of hooey. So my question is, what is your response? You must have read that op-ed that he wrote, and what was your first thought of that?
Well, we all had to smile and laugh a little bit when we heard Charlie say that. Unfortunately for Charlie, he's running against a record of 12 years in Congress, 30 years in politics. He was part of a Republican majority that spent more money and grew government bigger and larger than any previous administration had up to that point. The only silver lining of the Obama administration is that they saved the Republicans from being the biggest spenders in the history of our country. Charlie, unfortunately, was a willing part of that. He's against the steps that are necessary for energy independence. And we all like Charlie, and he's a good man, but it's 2010. It's time for us to move on. It's time for new faces, new energy, a renewed dedication to those things that make us strong as a nation.
One last question, because I know you got a boogity-boogity, as they say, in the NASCAR races. The entitlements. When I look at that, and I look at the ongoing annual deficits, and seeing we're about Greece to happen all over. That's common knowledge at this point. Certainly, it isn't just Social Security. It isn't just Medicare. It's the unfunded mandates that come down to the states, which then get pushed down.
And it isn't just that.
It's being driven from the feds.
And it isn't just that. It's everything. Government has become too big, too intrusive, and too expensive. And everything. As far as I'm concerned, every agency, every department of government should be on. Every single one of them. We are spending more than we can maintain. We are crushing our children's and our grandchildren's dreams the way that we're allowing this government to grow and to spend. It all has to be looked at. Everything has to be on the table. You know, I talk about across-the-board cuts. I mean across the board. Everything has to be included when we look at how we're going to cut back spending.
How big of a cut? And I say that from the standpoint of pre-World War II, federal expenses were 5% of GDP. We're at almost 24% right
It's
now.
outrageous. I can't give you a number today. I'm not going to give you a number, but I'm telling you it's got to be big and it's got to be across the board.
Will you promise to get back to me on a number soon?
Yeah.
You know my email address.
I do, and absolutely. And you and I have a good relationship back and forth. Let me give it some thought and do some research, and we'll talk about that further next time.
And you go boogity boogity.
Thank you, Skip.
Thank
have
you,
a great
Jennifer.
day. Take care.